I think a lot depends on what the story coming out of Iowa is. Right now, a lot of folks are speculating that Haley may actually pass DeSantis for second place. If she does that, I think that again contributes to this narrative, this storyline that Haley is on the rise, and I think that will make there be a lot of pressure to look at New Hampshire as essentially a two-candidate race, as between Trump and Haley. I
Hmm.
think in those circumstances, we'd be having a lot of conversations. Well, what does Ron DeSantis do? What does Chris Christie do? Um, so, and think back to 1984, Gary Hart's big splash. He came out of Iowa down to Walter Mondale by 30 points,
Yeah.
but he was in second place and nobody expected that. So I think, in a sense, the expectations game is kind of goofy. That's a technical term,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I think it can really affect what we'll be talking about and how we'll be talking about this race in that week between Iowa and New Hampshire.
You think back to 2016, and I remember talking to you then how different the
Mhm.
race was. Donald Trump was in New Hampshire a lot. He decided to really plant his flag there. It was town hall every other weekend. How much time has he spent there in the state? Because it's been a storyline that he's barely gone to Iowa, and it looks like he may well win the caucuses.
Yeah, he has not been here a lot. I think the number of events he has held in this state is in the mid single digits. I want to say like five, six, seven, something like that. But it's been nothing like the on the ground presence that he had 8 years ago. That said, his campaign is much more professional, much more, for want of a better term, normal than it was in 2016. So there really is an organized Trump campaign in terms of phone calls and mailers and door knocking and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
His ads are all over TV and all over streaming. And, my 5-year-old was watching a Minecraft video and got Trump and Haley videos during it. So, they're really targeting
Wow.
voters there. Yeah.
They're hitting the
He was just like,
Minecraft
Dad, turn
players.
this off. Yeah,
That's pretty creative, I have to admit. Now
it
you're
is.
getting young
It
people
is.
where they're actually working here.
Yeah.
And I was visiting family in New England, not even in New Hampshire, but in Massachusetts, knowing they have to buy the Boston market. And I mean, it's
Right.
every other commercial. I can't imagine the level of exhaustion right now when it comes to the ads. Who's on TV the most right now in New Hampshire, Chris?
I'd say it's a toss up between Trump and Haley. I've barely seen anything for DeSantis. I think I've seen maybe one Christie ad. But really, if you're just watching TV, it's for at least the stuff I'm watching, looks like a two-candidate race.
How about that? Are you leaning towards one poll or the other here, that Donald Trump is in fact enjoying a single-digit lead, as one poll would suggest, or a 20-point spread like we're seeing in the other?
It's really tough. I can envision either one
Wow.
being more accurate. The Haley numbers aren't actually off that much between, or there's not that much difference. 26-32 is at sort of like the far end of
That's
the
right.
margin of error. What I think is more interesting is you have one poll where Trump is under 40. If Trump is under 40 on primary night, we're going to be talking about how much he underperformed. Why wasn't he able to close the deal here? That sort of thing. If he's coming in 46%, we'll say, wow, he's nearly at 50%. If there's an anti-Trump coalition, it didn't show up tonight. So I think, depending on which one of these is closer to what we get, I think 2 weeks from tonight, 2 weeks from tonight,
It sure is.
we'll be having really different conversations about the race.
Yeah, understood. And that's what's just incredible about this stage of the race, and knowing that this could go in a couple of different directions here, likely in the next couple of weeks. Chris, last time we were there, 2020, it was, of course, the Democrats we were really talking about here. And I'll never forget talking with Joe Biden, who was said to be on the verge of dropping out of the race. It was supposed to be an exit interview. And what happened between New Hampshire and South Carolina was remarkable, as just one candidate after the other dropped out of the race. Are we going to see something like that? Not that there are that many left. What happens to this field after New Hampshire? Or could something happen before New Hampshire? Could Chris Sununu, for instance, talk Chris Christie into dropping out of this race?
That's a great question. I think, with Christie, The vibe I get is that he's attracting the really dedicated anti-Trump voters, the people who turned out and voted for Bill Weld in 2020. And I think that's a fundamentally different approach and a fundamentally different group of voters than the ones who are being drawn to Haley, who's not attacking Trump, but she's saying, he was fine in 2016, but we need a new generation, we need a younger voice, that sort of thing, and really being very gentle and hands off with her criticisms of him. I think if Christie were to get out, I think that would probably boost Haley. I don't think there are many Christie voters whose second choice is Donald Trump. Then you've got Ron DeSantis. He was pulling, I think, 5% in one of these polls. I think the CNN UNH poll. I don't know that there are many Ron DeSantis voters whose second choice is Nikki Haley. So if you're Nikki Haley, you probably, you'd like Christie to get out. You wouldn't mind Asa Hutchinson, who's still in there, getting like 1 or 2% to get out and endorse you. But you probably want DeSantis to stick around. You probably figure the guy who's running as Trumpism without Trump is probably drawing votes away from Trump and not from you.